everybody, and welcome back to episode 35 of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. And I have a fantastic guest for you this week in former Sooner football star Trey Millard. And I'm very excited for you to hear my conversation with Trey. But before we get too far, I want to kick off the episode with this week's injury report with my friend Dr. Jason Leinen. Well, happy Monday. And I'm glad that we don't have too much to report.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, pretty good game on Saturday, I'd say.
It was awesome. I was very impressed with how a lot of our guys stepped up, especially freshmen, first time out there on the field. And so
Yeah,
I think
first
it's very
time in a big
promising.
game. Yeah,
Yes, big
leaves you
game,
a lot to
big.
be hopeful for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, Fasusi being one of those, of course, that kind of stood out to everybody. And then I know we talked about him limping off the field, but it appears he's okay. He said he told the reporters there was nothing to worry about, and so he'll be fine. So I know
Okay,
we'll
good,
talk
good.
about this in a minute, ankles and how
Yeah,
fragile they are. And I know we mentioned last week, too, how we're honestly lucky that there's not more injuries than there are with everything going on, and especially the other night was a pretty physical game.
yeah,
And
for sure. I mean, I feel like there were several Michigan players that went down,
oh
and
yes, yeah,
thankfully, not a lot of our guys went down.
yes, I was very glad. I know the one thing that everybody mainly noticed during the game was Gentry Williams back in the tent with the shoulder injury, which he's been prone to before.
Yes.
But it appears that he is also okay. Nothing else was ever said about it, and he was still out there available. So
Yeah,
that's a good
that's
sign
good
as well.
for sure.
And then the only other thing I had on my list was Kendall Daniels being in a boot after the game, which again, I guess could go back to the ankle conversation. But he just told Plank in the post game, I heard this on the way home. He just said, "It's year 5. I'm getting old. It happens." So I'm sure, like you said, just ankles are pretty prone to accidents. And he's been playing for 5 years. And so he might have been nursing something for several years. It's kind of recurring.
Yeah,
I don't know. So since he came from OSU, I didn't really follow his injury report too well before before
yeah.
now. But
I think you'll
yeah,
see that sometimes with these ankle injuries I've seen before where the guys will be in a boot after a game or maybe even sometimes through the week going to class back and forth,
yes,
but they're able to tape it up for practice or put them in a heftier brace to be
mm-hmm.
able to practice and play. And so I don't think that's all that uncommon to see guys walking around in a boot, but then you see them back on the fields.
Right. Well, we had a softball player with that situation this past spring, Ella Parker. She was out for a while and I don't recall what the injury was with it early in the season, but then later we would see her hitting and running the bases, or sometimes she would have a pinch runner or whatever, but then you'd see her in the dugout with the boot on, even between innings sometimes, and we were like, what the heck? So it happens. So
Yeah,
as long
yeah,
as
for
they're able
sure.
to play through it and they're doing okay, then that's great.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the ankle. Since I know it's a pretty prone body part for injury with people twisting their ankles all the time. So especially on the football field.
Yeah, I mean the ankle joint. I mean, if you think about just sports where guys are running around and cutting and having forceful movements, real dynamic, fast movements,
Yeah.
and that joint is it's relatively stable, but your whole body weight's on that thing, and you're doing again a lot of side to side, a lot of quick cuts, and then also guys on the line, getting rolled up and having 300 pounds fall on you
Yeah,
while your ankle's planted is probably, going to be a risk to
for
damage some of
sure.
those structures. Yeah, I mean, the anatomy of the ankle, primarily, you have ligaments on either side of your ankle joint. The inside is sort of a wider ligament called the deltoid ligament complex, and it's a little bit stronger, and just due to the nature of these injuries, not as typically injured or sprained that inside ligament. So typically,
Right.
when we think of a traditional quote ankle sprain, you're thinking about more the outside or what we call the lateral ligaments of the ankle. And there's kind of three main ligaments that sort of, one more toward the front, one kind of in the middle, and one more toward the back of the ankle. And so those are the ligaments that typically get injured. Some people kind of label them grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, whether you sort of injure or tear one, two, or three of those ligaments, essentially.
Okay. Okay.
And then you have a little bit higher up, there is a ligament called the tibiofibular ligament, where you might hear the term high ankle sprain.
Yes.
And that can be a little bit of a tougher injury to get over and a little bit worse prognosis. Not always, but that's a ligament that if that gets injured, it can tend to sideline guys a little bit longer or sometimes require
Okay.
surgery, maybe more than the other ligaments.
Oh, wow.
Most of the time, these ankle injuries will heal. I mean, sometimes even a fairly significant ankle injury, I mean, those ligaments will eventually heal without surgery a lot of the times. But it can, sometimes produce kind of a lingering effect.
Right.
So, again, yeah, you see guys wearing a boot and maybe in between games or in between practices, just to stabilize that joint as you try to get those ligaments to allow them to heal while they're doing the rehab program where they're trying to strengthen up
Yes.
the ankle. That's kind of another facet of these ankle injuries is you have what's called proprioception, which is sort of a nerve signal from the brain to areas of your body to kind of tell your brain where your foot is, so to speak. And so,
Oh,
for
okay.
instance, like if you're walking along the ground and you step in a small divot or something, well, you don't automatically just crumble to the ground because
Right.
your brain sends a signal to
Right.
your ankle and back and forth to kind of say, okay, I'm sensing that the ground is not level. Let me fire these muscles a little bit more on this
Okay.
side.
Yeah.
And so when you have an injury, you kind of lose that signal response. And
Makes
so
sense.
if you twist it again, it might be more prone to twist again. I mean, we've all heard of people that kind of say, "Oh,
Right.
I sprained my ankle all the time in high school when I was playing tennis or whatever." It's kind of like, well, you probably didn't get a full rehab program, and you probably didn't get
Makes
that
sense.
ankle completely strengthened up. And so, obviously, at a big program like OU, where they've got training staff and they've got facilities, and they're seeing the trainers every day, and they're getting their rehab every day, and so that gives these guys the chance to kind of get healed up and hopefully not re-injure. But
For
obviously, they're also
sure.
than to play a game every week, and so
Yes.
they may have to go through the process of keeping it up. Sometimes having a more of a hefty tape job or a
Yeah.
double reinforcement
Yep.
or whatever to allow them to play. And the big lineman guys who are just kind of shuffling around a little bit, maybe not quite as big a deal. But if you've got
Right.
a running back or a receiver trying to run routes with a
Yes.
bum ankle, it might be a little bit trickier. So
Yes. So true.
that plays into it also.
For sure. Well, like you said, with re-injuries, and that makes sense why they would be common because maybe they're not healing correctly, or like you said, we're all trying to play a football game on Saturday, and that's what their goal is to be on the field. And I know we mentioned before about our injury list and the guys that have been on it what seems like forever. And no disrespect to them, of course, because I mean, maybe that's kind of what's going on. They're really making sure that they get fully recovered and fully able to perform before they put them back out there, and then it just happens again. So, I mean, nobody wants that either. So,
Sure. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of a catch-22. Like we want to see so and so on the field, but we don't want them to go out there and then get carted back off again, and then here we go
Exactly.
again. So yeah,
Exactly.
we just, who knows what all's going on with that. And then as far as Gentry Williams, I saw a lot of people on his shoulder. Of course, I saw him go in the tent and I saw him come back out. He wasn't in there very long, and they didn't, to my knowledge that I saw, I don't think they took him back
Yeah.
off the field. He just rejoined everybody on the
Mm,
sideline. So again, with him, a lot of people were like, "Well, if he's re-injured that again, then we just need to move on from him." And blah blah. He's
mm,
injury prone. Which, I mean, I get it. Sometimes people are more injury prone than others for whatever reason it may be. But I'm like,
yeah.
okay, dude, he just went in the tent for like 10 seconds. Let's just calm down a
Yeah.
little bit. So I mean, he could have just re-aggravated it if, and
Right.
I don't know if it was the same shoulder that he's had issues with before. I'm assuming that it was just from everything that I saw. So again, he could have just aggravated it, and it's more prone to be aggravated, so to speak, just because he
Yeah.
has injured it before. It could be totally fine, and it just, he bothered it, and now he's just got to
Yeah.
nurse it a little bit and move on. So
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that kind of injury, if you've got a guy that's been rehabbing or maybe even had surgery,
yes.
the team doc probably wants to to recheck that even if it's just something minor. He comes off,
yes,
says, that felt like maybe I tweaked it, or that tackle didn't go great, or
for
whatever
sure.
it might be. They might just take him back there and do the strength testing and check his joint and ligaments and all that. And if everything seems good, they might just be, okay, yeah, well, that's, hey, you're good to go. And sometimes
Yes,
guys just need that reassurance. Okay, I didn't injure anything.
for sure.
I'm good. Let me just go back. I
Yes.
just wanted, it's maybe sometimes just okay, let's just be sure.
Yeah.
And if everything's good, then yeah, let them go back and be fine.
Yeah.
And sometimes this happens late in the game. And, if the game's kind of
Mm-hmm.
already decided one way or
Yes.
the other, then they might just say, hey, we're not going to put you back in. You tweaked it a little bit, even though we didn't find anything,
Yes.
damaged, injured, weak, whatever. They might just say, hey, look, we don't need you right now. We're
Yes.
good. We're up by 20 and there's 2 minutes left. Let's just hold
Exactly.
on, whatever it might be. And
Exactly.
so
Yes.
I think you see that sometimes with guys too, for whatever injury.
I think that's what happened with Blaylock last week. Is it
Yeah,
just okay? We're gonna pull him out. There's no need for him to go back in. We're
I need
fine.
to go back. Yeah,
So just
yeah,
let him rest, and maybe he got a stinger or whatever, and he's good to go. He played Saturday, was perfectly fine. So yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So hopefully going forward, I like our trajectory so far, injury wise, of course, and then just the way the team looks in general.
Yeah,
So
team wise, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
looks great. We're
Yeah, I'm
headed
excited. Yeah, I
headed to
was.
Temple this
I
weekend.
just didn't know. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Had some hope, but that just wasn't. It's kind of the
Yes,
unknown.
I
And
know.
you play a sort of a lower level team the first game, and you just don't
Yes.
really know what you have. Guys
Uh
might
huh.
look great in practice, and you might start putting all the pieces together, but until they get out there against a tougher team.
Yeah.
Michigan obviously has. They've got the big guys, and they've got
Yes.
the recruits, and they've got the stars, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think that was a good test. So hopefully that gives us
I
a better
think
idea, kind
so.
of what we've got there.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I feel like they played better against Michigan than they did in the first game, and I don't know if they were
Yeah, I
holding.
agree. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if they were holding back or just trying to keep it simple so that Michigan didn't know what to expect or what. But I definitely think everybody stepped it up, especially the O line. Last week we were like, okay, y'all are going to have to step it up against Michigan. Well, they did.
they
So
did. They looked much
they
better. Yeah, yeah,
they looked amazing, and Venables gave the whole O line and Coach Beatonbow the game ball after the game, and
yeah.
I
That's
was like
awesome
they earned it. So yeah, I
for
feel like
sure.
they played exceptionally well,
Yeah,
especially how they played last weekend, which they still played good, but they kicked it up a notch for sure. So I'm
yep.
anxious to see what they do against Temple on the road. Of course, a road
Mm-hmm.
environment. It'll be their first road test, but Temple's not like a complete doormat. I mean, from what I've
Right,
seen. So I mean, they're 2-0 as well. And again, I know they're not. It's not Michigan again or an
right.
SEC team that we're going to be facing in a couple weeks, but they're not a doormat. I'm sure they'll show up to play. So it'll be fun.
Should be a good game. Yeah, for sure. Looking
Yeah,
forward to it.
yeah. All right. Well, thanks for our injury segment for the week, and
All right,
hopefully
no problem.
we have not much to report
Yeah,
next week
yeah.
as
Not a whole
well.
lot. Yeah, that's
Thank you to my friend Dr. Jason Leinen for joining me back again this week for our weekly injury report. And I am super thankful that we have not had a lot of major injuries to report on. And fingers crossed, here's hoping that that stays the same throughout the season. So, next, moving on to this week's interview with our guest, Trey Millard. And Trey is a 2-time captain and 4-time All Big 12 Don Key Award winner. He is also a 2-time first team All Big 12 in 2011 and 2013, and a 2-time second team All Big 12 in 2010 and 2012. During his time at OU from 2010 to 2014, he received many accolades and had a lot of awesome memories to share with us on the podcast. He was a part of the NFL draft in 2014, and he was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers and then later went to the Kansas City Chiefs briefly before he was medically retired with a knee injury. Trey became a Sooner fan by playing with them on the NCAA video game, which I thought was hilarious. So I had a great time visiting with him about that fun fact. And also, he talks about his favorite Sooner memory of beating the Nebraska Cornhuskers in the Big 12 championship. And also, of course, our Sugar Bowl win against Alabama with Trevor Knight as our quarterback. And Trey did not get to play in that game as he was sidelined with an injury, but he still served as a captain on that team and a very vital part of the team. And so I enjoyed my conversation reminiscing with Trey about his time at OU and his time in the NFL as well. And I'm just so thankful for him for giving me part of his time to come onto the show. And you can find Trey on Twitter. He is at fat_daddy33. I will put that in the show notes and on our graphics on social media. And I will be tagging him on the material throughout the week as well. I did want to note, we did record this episode before the Michigan game. And so we do briefly talk about our expectations for the season and for the Michigan game and going forward. So keep that in mind as you're listening as well, that this was recorded before that game. And also, I had some audio issues with the download on our recording. So if you are watching YouTube or Substack, you may notice that the audio and the video may not match up correctly. If you are listening just on a podcast app, it should be perfectly fine. You shouldn't notice any hiccups at all. But there was a delay for some reason when we were recording. So there were a lot of times that I was talking over him, not realizing that he was still talking or had returned to talking. And so I tried to edit out a lot of my talking over him so that you guys could focus on hearing what he had to say and not me. So I just wanted to point that out for anybody who's watching the video. If you notice any discrepancies in the video sound and what you're seeing on the actual screen, that is why. So just disregard that. You're not missing anything at all. So I hope you guys enjoy this awesome interview with the amazing Trey Millard. Well, thank you so much for giving me part of your time. I really appreciate it. I actually talked earlier with Ryan Broyles.
Okay.
And yeah,
Awesome.
he was so kind. Yeah, just talked a little football. So
That's awesome.
Anyway, I don't know how far back you want to go as far as yourself, for your football journey. Just where you got started and fell in love with the sport and what led you to OU, and we'll just start there.
Okay. Well, I actually grew up like a soccer kid. I joke with people that I sized out of soccer. Became too big to run multiple miles a day for a sport, and so luckily my kind of team stopped. They all went to play high school, and I didn't have a sport in the fall, and so that had been like junior high age or whatever. I guess the year before high school, and so I went ahead and played football for the first time. I played a little bit of flag before, but that was the first time I played tackle, and it was a fit. It was immediately had some great coaches, and so I played then, and then jumped right into high school, and I was lucky enough to play varsity for a really talented team. And then we graduated a bunch of seniors, and we sucked for 2 years. And then we were pretty good. We were pretty average when my senior year. But yeah, I was blessed enough to get a lot of people looking at me to play offense and defense. And I'm from Columbia, Missouri, so where Mizzou is at. So kind of grew up there. A little bit more Fairweather fans. I kind of saw a lot of lifelong fans all of a sudden whenever they were really good with Chase Daniels and 2009. I was like, I didn't know you owned a Mizzou shirt. I don't know.
I know, right?
You bled it, So, and so I came on, visits all over the country, and when I was at OU, it just kind of just seemed like a good fit. I liked what they did with their offense and with their fullback, and I kind of decided that I wanted to play fullback instead of playing defense. So it was just a good fit. I thought I could potentially start as a freshman because the guy had just graduated the year before, so this position was open, and so I did, and so it was that's what got me to OU.
Awesome. Well, Ryan was telling me that you guys had played together for a couple of years because I couldn't remember the timing, and so that's really cool. There were a lot of great athletes on that team during his time and your time. Of course, pretty much the last couple decades, it's been so much fun to watch OU football. So, that was a great team that you guys were a part of. Had a lot of good memories.
Yeah, we do. We played together for a couple years. Ryan, we're not in the same stratosphere. He is arguably one of the best receivers ever played college football. I don't know if he'll say that or not, but I will. Watching him. And his career was unfortunately cut a little bit short, but he's been mildly successful in the NFL and then very successful afterwards. And so I always love seeing him and catching up with him. And so, he was a great player.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So tell me about your time at OU. Like, what are some of your favorite memories? Of course, Ryan and I talked about Coach Stoops and just what a phenomenal guy and coach that he is. And I've never heard one bad thing about that man. And so I'm sure you have your own memories and stories as well. But just tell me a little bit about your time there at OU and maybe some of your favorite memories or highlights of games that stick
Yeah, I
out to
mean,
you.
I think just being able to start as a true freshman was awesome. I, had played on NCAA, and before the year before, I was playing with like DeMarco Murray, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm blocking for him.
Yes.
Like I'm the guy in front of him, and so kind of a surreal moment with him, being able to block for him and play with him, and so that was awesome. I got to score as a freshman. I think I was the first freshman in that class, and so I thought that was pretty cool with some extremely
Oh, I
talented,
bet.
wide receivers and running backs, and here it is, the fullback gets the first touchdown in the class. I hung it over their heads for a little bit, but yeah. But I
Like,
had probably one of my biggest honors and kind of memories is being able to be a team captain for a two-time team captain, which is pretty rare, and took a lot of honor and pride and that my teammates voted me that, and so I mean that was awesome. Then my senior year, I was the speaking captain, so being able to call coin tosses and all that. I had a high percentage
yes.
of wins on that. It wasn't 50-50. I was like 80% correct. Was doing pretty good on that too. So, but being the captain, and then just kind of having just being a part of some of those teams and some of those comebacks. I think Nebraska, we were losing big my freshman year in the Big 12 championship. That was their last year, and that was the first year that the world was open, and so playing there was just incredible, and having just a solid full team win against them was awesome, to win a Big 12 championship that year. And then a game that I didn't even play in because I was hurt, but our Sugar Bowl win against Alabama. I was still team captain on that one. And so just kind of seeing our guys that nobody thought we were going to beat them, and just to handle them the kind of the way that we did was awesome. And I took a lot of pride in my team for doing that. And then obviously, probably my best game was against Texas, and so that game is always very memorable, and that's stuff that people still bring up to me, when I see them on the street, and so it's fun to have a really big play or famous play in a great rivalry game. That's just luck of the draw on that one, and it worked out well, and so that's always fun when people bring that up, and how much they enjoy something that I love doing is very cool.
That's cool. Well, like you said, having a play like that in the Red River rivalry and just in a game like that, in an atmosphere like that, is truly incredible. I mean, one of my favorite all-time OU Texas plays is definitely Roy Williams, of course, the Superman game. I was at that game. That was back when I was in college at OU. So I will never, ever, ever, ever forget that. And every time I see a replay of it, I'm going to watch it. I love it so much. It's really cool. I can't imagine being down on that field in that stadium, because the atmosphere is so unique and different. I mean, just it's not like anything in the NFL or any other college game that you're a part of, because of the way the stadium is. And so I can't imagine that crowd. I actually talked to the drum major. She was telling me how they start in the Texas side of the stadium and go across the field. And so they start with the boos and the hollering, and then they go into the cheers and the OU fans. And what a transition that is, just running across the field. I can't imagine just making a play, being a part of those games, because it's an incredible atmosphere for sure.
It's the best game and the best rivalry game in college sports. I mean, just because maybe a little bit biased here, but I mean, it really is unique. Just the atmosphere, the event. There's a state fair involved. The splitting of a iconic stadium that's a neutral site. I mean, there's just nothing else like it. Two historic blue chip programs, and so it's incredible. And it's great that I got to play in it. I was blessed to be able to play in it for 4 years, and went 3-1. Unfortunately, lost that one, but it's one of the best memories of playing that game. I mean, even all 4 years was great.
I agree. I do think it's the best rivalry in college football, just for a lot of reasons, but I know we are a little biased. But I'm glad that you ended up at OU, coming from Missouri. It's funny when you were talking about how Missouri fans came out of nowhere there for a while, and it's kind of the same way now with OU fans. It's like last year when we played in Columbia, it was just like all of a sudden there was this like pent up.
It's becoming its own rivalry. It's becoming its own little rivalry. Yeah.
It is. It really is. And I think there were a lot of reasons maybe behind that. We had one of our players that left and ended up at Missouri. And I don't know if maybe that played a role in that or what, but I really wish we could have won that game last year in Columbia. But that's neither here nor there. We get them in Norman this year. So hopefully we can take care of business. But it's funny to look at some of these teams like Missouri that we don't necessarily consider a rival by any extent of the word, because we hadn't even played them in years since they left the Big 12, and then now here we are. But the recent news coming out with the 9-game schedule for the SEC next year, conference schedule, and then we have to have 3 teams that are like staples on our schedule. Each team will have to do that. And of course, one of ours is Texas. And so all the speculation that I've seen in the last few days are, people talking about maybe one of our teams will be Missouri that we play every year. Maybe one of them will be LSU. And of course, I think maybe proximity plays a role in that. But I also think, the lack of those 2 teams having another, quote, rival really on their schedule. So I'll be really intrigued to see how that pans out, which I guess we'll find out in a few months, kind of how that's going to work out. But how would you feel if we played them every year? Like, I really feel like that the Missouri fans will run with
for me,
it.
it'd be awesome because I go home and I'll start going to those games both. And so I had some high school friends talk about coming to the one this year. So, I mean, I would love it if that was one of our 3. I think I've seen Florida's one too, which doesn't. I don't know if that really makes as much sense. I mean, it'd be fun, and they're a great program as well. But I just think it'd be, obviously I'm biased there too from being take a trip home.
Yeah.
So, but I think that would be
right.
A good one to have.
Yeah, I agree. And with Florida, I've heard that as well. I mean, proximity is clearly not in their favor as far as that's concerned, but I've heard that Florida fans can be quite the handful. And so I'm real anxious to see. Of course, I don't have any personal experience with Florida fans on any sport, but I've heard that. I think maybe Tyler McComas had said that, maybe talking about softball. I don't recall. But anyway, I'm really intrigued to see how that comes out with our schedule, because it's really cool now that we're in the SEC. We're going to all these new places. And I think there's 5 teams I saw earlier that are coming to Norman for the first time this year. And that's crazy to think about, because we played the same people over and over for so many years in the Big 12. So to get some new blood coming in is pretty exciting, and hitting the road and checking out new places is pretty exciting. So I'm really excited
I think
to see
so
where
too.
that goes.
I think one of the teams I'd be kind of interested in, of course, it's a little bit, I feel like we've had a little bit of a rivalry with Tennessee. It's obviously a little bit more recent than the stuff with Mizzou, but still, I think there's some big time games we've had there, and now that Heupel's there, it's kind of a cool. Of course, that at some point that'll end, but still, for the time being, that'd be a cool one as well that I'd love to be.
It would, I agree with that. We definitely had good luck. There in Knoxville, was that 2015? Right. Yeah, that was a great game. I would love to see a repeat of that this year, because I heard Rocky Top one too many times last year in Norman. I swear if I heard that one more time, I was just going to explode. So I do not want to hear that song. We were trying to decide if we were going to hit the road this season for a game. And I was like, I really do want to go to Knoxville. I think it would be cool to go to Leinen, but I said, not this year. I can't. It's still too fresh in my head, and I can't get that song out. I'm not doing that. But LSU's another one that's come up as far as a potential permanent rival for us or whatever. But I'm not a fan of LSU. They're fans for sure. So I don't know how I feel about if that happened. I am glad they're coming to Norman this year. I haven't experienced them obviously in Norman before, but I swore after the 2004 Sugar Bowl, I was like, no more LSU games for me, because I thought I was going to end up in jail in New Orleans. But my husband and I went to the Peach Bowl. Was it 2018 or 19? And that was Joe Burrow's year. And it was one of those things, like, you almost know what might happen, but you have to
we
go
just happened to play one
yourself.
of the most talented teams of all time.
And so, and they really were. But honestly, it was incredible to see Joe Burrow and that team, and like their whole, like almost all their starters went to the NFL. And it was just mind-blowing. But it was a cool experience to get to see that team. I don't know how much I enjoy watching my own team that day, but just from a win-loss perspective. But anyway, I've about had it with LSU people, so I'm not sure how I feel about them becoming a permanent fixture on my schedule. But I guess we'll see what happens.
Something might change in the next couple of weeks. That's how college football's been for about 3 years.
That is so true. That is so true. Well, I chuckled earlier when I was reading your email about how you became a Sooner fan because you played him on the video game. I think that's so funny that, I mean, we'll take him any way we can get him, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm glad the game's back. That's it's really cool. So that was an awesome part of being able to play and be a part of it.
I am too. Absolutely. Well, you have kids, and so I'm sure you understand, you want them to grow up and play those same games that you did and learn to love the teams and the games that you did. So I'm sure that plays a big part in that. So I'm definitely glad it's back for a lot of reasons. But for those of you with children, I'm sure for sure. You had some accolades while you were at OU, being a first team all Big 12 a couple of times. And then you ended up getting drafted and you went to the 49ers. Correct?
Well, it wasn't quite the NFL career I'd hoped for. So I tore my ACL as a senior at OU. Went out there hurt. It was kind of cool being around. There's probably several Hall of Famers on that team. So just playing with some veteran, very talented, very smart players, and just being drafted was a dream come true. So, especially being hurt, I thought I wasn't going to be. I mean, they don't really draft fullbacks a whole lot anyways, and so still being able to get drafted while being hurt was awesome. So, got to go out there. Was only there for a year. Got cut. Wasn't really playing very well. So that's kind of what happens in the NFL. Come back from my knee, but then had a year to kind of rehab and take care of it and get better. And ended up being with the Chiefs, getting re-signed to a futures with the Chiefs. And then unfortunately tore that same ACL again. That was kind of it. At least I was playing good football there. I knew I was good enough to play in the NFL at that point, so that's something that I kind of wanted to prove myself. It just wasn't for me.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. Well, it's always fun for me to watch our Sooners at the next level at whatever capacity that may be. So I hate that didn't work out for you. But like you said, it is very cool that you got drafted, especially given your situation at the time. So you did it and you knew that you could do it. And that's all that matters. Honestly, I mean, it's a huge accomplishment. You did that and you proved that to yourself.
I would have preferred a couple more years and a little bit more money, but what are you going to do?
For sure. I don't blame you. Well, I'm sure that now, I just know with my age, and I'm nowhere near being an athlete, but
I see some guys that have been playing since before I would have been in there, and I'm like, I was like, I don't know, I don't think I'd want to. I would, of course, I love playing football, but I still sometimes I'll wake up and be like, I could not imagine going and playing professional football right now. So it's all right. God had a plan.
Absolutely. Well, I was a Tom Brady fan, or still am, but I watched him throughout the years, and he's just a few years older than me. It's funny to think, like, I would sit there and watch him playing just a couple years ago, and I'm going, he's not much older than me. How is he still doing this? So he's just like an anomaly. So I don't know how he did it, but it's mind blowing to think about the age of some of these players that have been around for quite some time, and you're just like, I can barely walk sometimes.
Yeah, there's some people out there that were made a little bit different, and they are.
I agree. They have to be. Well, I know with your kids, you have 3 kids.
Yep. I joke with people. I was like, we're trying to get a family Selman statue up there, right? That's just a small family goal.
That would be awesome. Absolutely. I think it's attainable. Let's do it. That's so fun. So all of your kids play
the youngest isn't
flag
old
football
yet, but the older two do. So I'll be coaching both those teams, and I can hardly play those games, let alone an NFL game.
I totally understand. So what are you up to these days? I know you coach your kids.
I work for Cintas now and doing sales down here. Been doing that for about a year. So that's been I've been in sales for probably 5 years before that. So it's been a good company that I've kind of recently switched to, and I've had some success. And so it's been fun, kind of being in a different industry. I was in medical sales prior to that, so it's just
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it, and gives me the flexibility to be, a present and active father.
Good.
So that's a big plus. And then, uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's mainly.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of kid stuff, and it's a lot of work. And besides that, just staying active and
Yes.
living in our.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm deep in it.
You're going to earn the
All right,
Selman
yeah.
statue at OU for sure. Well, your kids, I mean, obviously they're athletic.
Yep, they do. I love it. I love that they love us. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, that's good to hear because it would be hard to have something like that you're so passionate about. You spent your life with football, and if your kids didn't enjoy it, that would definitely be, I guess, I don't want to say disappointment, but you would be sad that you couldn't pass that on. So it's cool that you have 3 boys and,
Whatever
you're
sport they
training them on
decide,
up.
whatever they want to do.
Do you have any other memory, anything you want to talk about?
Not that I can think of. It's been fun. I always love hopping on and talking about the seniors. So, I mean, I guess we
Yeah.
talk about what we thought for this team this season. You kind of just talk about the past. About it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I'm ready. Let's go. Well, yeah, so I'm very hopeful about John Mateer, which of course I know everyone is. But I think we have a lot of pieces that look like they're coming together. And I really hope that's true because it's been a struggle I feel like the last decade. We've had really good offense and mediocre defense, or vice versa. This last handful of year. So it appears that this year we might have all the pieces coming together, and I'm really crossing my fingers because I'm ready to see some good offense.
Yeah, I was like, man, as offensive players, like last year was long. It was very, very. And it's like I would rather lose. I mean, some of those games like we lose 52-50. But all right, at least we had a chance. but some of these games, it's like, well, we can't expect the defense to score twice, so we might be out of. So and so it's this year. I've been pretty excited. I think our defense is going to be better, and I know our offense is going to be. So I think we've got a shot to do pretty well and hopefully make the playoff. And then it's anyone's game. Hopefully hit a hot streak But
I hope so.
I think that's the goal. At least I've started to sip the Kool-Aid. I've tried not to for a long time, but so I talked to Kevin Wilson was my coordinator, my position coach, and my recruiter.
Yes,
he's back as a consultant, so I've seen.
Oh wow! Okay.
Spring kind of like games they did, and I saw him here at that alumni barbecue, and so I got to see him and. He's never sugarcoated anything in his life before.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I got a pretty good talk with him about the offense, and so it made me a little bit. Good. He's like, we got some pieces. He goes, we're not going to be. He said, we're not going to be great. I don't think, but it's like, well, okay, I get that. But he was really positive with what he had seen. So he's like, we've got a chance to be really good. So I thought that was good. I saw a couple plays for some receivers during that barbecue thing, and I wasn't more catching up with buddies than I was watching the analyze. I saw some big plays from some receivers, which was exciting to see for sure.
That is promising. And, honestly, if we can just keep our guys healthy and off the injury list, that would be amazing. And so I know we've got a couple right now that aren't on the depth chart for week 1. I'm not sure what exactly is going on with them, but it's only 2 main people. And so we seem to have the pieces to kind of step up and keep trucking along. And so obviously I think our spread on Saturday is like 35.5 points. So hopefully we cover that by halftime. I'd like to not see John Mateer in the 3rd or 4th quarter, at least the 4th. That would be really nice just to get some other players on the field.
It is.
We're doing it too. Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean,
it'd be fun. That's awesome.
Or go home, right?
Kind of just experiments. I mean, that's why you come and play at OU's for games like that. And so that'll be fun, and it'll be really sad if we don't win.
Absolutely.
And, it's like, oh, here we go, real quick test right off the bat. But they're a good team, but I think it's a really good team that you want to play because they're doing some rebuilding, and so there's going to be some talent there, and it's going to be nice kind of test before Texas is #1 ranked team in the country. So we do play them permanent every year. So we will have them again, obviously. And so it's like, it's going to be good to have a nice quality opponent before them.
I agree. I hope that it is a win, obviously, for us. And then we have Auburn come into town later in September. And I hope that we end up in Dallas undefeated And as much as it pains me to say it, because everybody keeps asking me, who do I want to win, Texas or Ohio State? And I'm like, that's like a really hard question, because I never want Texas to win technically, but I also wouldn't
That'd be awesome.
mind if they came to
It'd be
Dallas
College game day.
undefeated. Because can you imagine? I mean,
I got to play. I got to play in one of our Red River rivals was College game day, and so that was pretty cool, because typically it's such a big deal of itself that it's not
awesome
games. But this one of the years, I can't remember which one, but it was. So
yeah,
it's going to be a big game. I think regardless, with lots of implications for the rest of the season. So there's no more circling a couple games on our schedule anymore. We are. Yep. So
nope. It's week after week.
That's fun. I do wish that, I'm a little jealous of the guys that get to play now, because that's what you want to do. Go up against them. So it's exciting. They've got all the opportunity in the world in front of them.
Absolutely. Well, rumor has it that we may get game day for the Michigan game. So that's still to be officially announced, I believe. But I think the rumor's pretty heavy from some reliable sources. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, like you said, a lot of people have asked me as far as our move to the SEC, and they're like, well, you guys won the Big 12 for so many years and you were top dog, and now you've moved to the SEC and you're down toward the bottom of the pack. Wouldn't you have rather stayed and been on top? And I'm like, well, but there's so much more to it than just winning. And I mean, yeah, obviously it's fun to be at the top, right? It's fun to win these big bowl games and all the things, but I really hope that we can get there in the SEC, because like you said, the caliber of teams that we play week after week after week is just mind-blowing. And to think that we have these teams coming into Norman and we get to experience that on our home field and host them, and that's just incredible. Like the Alabama game last year, like, I mean, who thought that was going to happen?
We stormed the field, which I know some people hate that. I was like, no, I was like, we've had a couple games when I was there. I was like, let's do it. Like, this is, come on, people, get out here. We don't do it all the time, but every once in a while. And so it's like, that wouldn't happen in the Big 12. And so
yes.
I think
absolutely not. No.
Yeah. I mean, I think for really the longevity of the program, I think Joe C made the right decision and did the right thing for the university. It sucks because some of the pageantry of some of those old rivalries is gone. Some of the pageantry of all college football is gone. And that's just the state of how things are. So if we just are doing what's best for the University of Oklahoma, and that's what I would prefer to do, because the Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore, and so there's those kind of options and those kind of things, and to say that this whole change and turmoil is close to being done is not correct, and so we will see, in the next decade or so. I think this is definitely the play
not at all.
that puts us in the best position to continue to compete at a very high level.
I agree. I completely agree with that. And the SEC has always been held to a high regard of being like the elite conference. And I think, like you said, that's just a chance for us to prove that we belong there. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's just softball, or, oh, it's just whatever sport, baseball. But our Diamond Sports did very well last season in the SEC, and that's awesome in my book. I mean, I know, of course, we won it on the football field because that's the moneymaker. That's what everybody knows and sees, and that's what sticks out to everybody. But I think we'll get there. And, of course, also I hope we get there in basketball as well, which I really hope that we do. I think we will. But, yeah, football is the moneymaker and where it's at. And I agree with you. I think they had to make the move that was in the best interest going forward. And my husband, he's a Poke. He likes to give me a hard time about how we buddied up with Texas.
I don't think he could say much of anything after last year. He needs to take a little. We opened the door. We held the door.
I know, right?
And you just wouldn't walk. You wouldn't walk through it. You just said, "What's that?
We
Is
did.
that a championship on the other side?" No, thank you.
No, they burned it down.
Well, I got.
Oh, gosh, yeah, and it's real hard for me not to laugh, if we're being honest, because I mean, I grew up hating all things orange. Texas, obviously, OSU, anything orange. Like, I don't want anything to do with it. And so the fact that I married a Poke is really hilarious. I do like to give him a hard time, and it's really hard not to get tickled sometimes at some of the stuff. Like you said, like last year, I feel like they kind of had the whole conference laid out for him.
Yeah, it wasn't even like,
take charge of, and then we're like,
you weren't the top two. It was like, no, you were last. You went over. So
yeah, dead last. Oh gosh, it's so embarrassing. And then I could not help but get tickled when they were like, OU has more Big 12 wins last
I didn't
season
even
than
think about
OSU
that.
did. I
Yeah,
was like, oh my
that's
God,
pretty funny.
we
Yeah.
did because we beat Houston.
Well, I had a lot of people
Yeah, it's funny.
hitting me up because I guess it was 1,000 days since OU had beat OSU or whatever, and I was like, wait a second, wasn't your last Big 12
Yes.
championship against, or
Yes.
Big 12, not championship, Big 12 win against us? It was like 2 years ago.
Yep, it was. Well,
Yeah.
I would tell them to go enjoy their 1945 national championship,
Yeah.
but
So I've got
don't
a
really
work
believe they
buddy
have that either.
who he wrestled at OSU, and so yeah, he picked the right sport to do there. But but
Oh,
he sent me something after they won the last game of whoever wins last or whoever laughs last longest. And I sent him back. I go, well, our longest win streak was 19 years, so we laughed for 19 years in a row.
yeah.
You've got 18 years of us not playing before you can say you've laughed longest. So we go back and forth. We work together, and we will have those kind of arguments in front of. We don't work together anymore, but in front of people who are far too important for us to just keep that just. Because then we'll even go football, wrestling. Who's the better athlete? We'll dive
Yes.
down it. And sometimes our boss will just turn to, or he used to just turn to us and be like, "Guys, this is not the time for
Yes.
that." Like, oh, it's always time.
Yes, it's absolutely always the time. Yeah, I'm the
Yeah.
one that's always, wherever I'm at, people know they can come at me with the sports talk because I'm gonna have a heyday with it, especially if it's some Bedlam banter or Texas banter or anything like
Absolutely.
that. So yeah, it's always time for some sports bantering, I'll tell you. I'm always here for that. Well, I'm very hopeful for this season, and honestly, it's a tough schedule,
I think
but
so.
I think we can
I
make
say
it
that
8-4.
our offense. I mean, last year I said we won 6 games with an offense that a lot of times didn't have a pulse, and so I think our defense is going to be better, and they were elite last year, and
Mm-hmm.
that if our offense is even middle of the road, we win 2 more games, and
Yes.
so that puts me at 8-4, and then I'm just Kool-Aid enough up to go 9-3,
Yeah.
and hopefully those 3 losses are close enough or to the right opponents to where we can make a playoff with what our schedule. That sounds awful coming out.
Quality losses, right? They're very important. No, it does not. But it seems like every year when we get to December, I'm like, oh, geez, here we go with the quality loss BS. And it's just, it's frustrating at times. But I mean, yeah, it doesn't roll off the tongue at all. I agree. So yeah, fingers crossed. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Boomer Sooner. That's all I got. Yep.
I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation with the awesome Trey Millard. Again, he was so kind, and I appreciate him giving me part of his time to come onto the show. Okay, so for this week's Sooner headlines of the week, we had NFL kickoff this past Thursday night with the Eagles and the Cowboys. And as most of you know, there are several former Sooners represented on the Eagles and Cowboys team, namely CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys. And he did not have the best night, but he's CeeDee, so I have no doubt he will recover from that going forward. And then Jalen Hurts, as the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, had a fantastic night. And I was super grateful for a lot of reasons. Not only do I like to see him doing well because he is a former Sooner, but because he's also my quarterback on my fantasy team. So I was a big fan of him doing well that night. Also, I love the intros that the players get to do on Thursday Night Football and Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football as well, where they introduce themselves and tell where they went to school. And I love that Jalen honors both Alabama and Oklahoma. It's just really cool that he does that in his intro. He says his name and then he says Roll Sooners. And I just think that's really cool that he came up with a way to show homage to both of his alma maters. I just think that's super cool. Also, going forward in the weekend in the NFL, Baker Mayfield and the Bucks had a fantastic game in Atlanta on Sunday. They played Billy Bowman, who did see some field time, and the Falcons. And what a game that was. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing. It's regional, of course. We do not get that game in our region, but I was able to see the end of it as they switched over to it after the game that was playing in my region. It was over, so they switched to the Bucks game because it was so close, nearing the end of the game. So I got to watch Baker throw the winning touchdown drive. And it was just an incredible game for him. His stats were incredible. And it was just great to see Baker back on the field. I love watching him. So I see a lot of him in John Mateer, which I think is why I'm a big fan of John Mateer. But it was just such a great feeling to have football back on our TVs this past weekend. We had it on every day. There was something going on. And of course, I'm recording on Monday. So this evening, we also have a game as well. And I just love it. If there's football on, it is on my TV. And I could not be more excited about that. I did want to point out back to CD. I know he did not have a super stellar night the other night. He had a few drop passes that people say could have cost them the game. However, the Eagles were really just rolling. So I don't know what kind of impact that made. But CD did reach 500 career receptions, the fastest player in Cowboys history to reach that mark at 82 games. He's the fifth fastest NFL player to reach 500 catches and the second youngest in NFL history behind only Larry Fitzgerald. Kyler and the Cardinals had a win over the Saints this past weekend. So great start for our Sooners in the NFL. I also saw that Nick Bonito had an exceptional game yesterday with the Broncos. Again, I did not get to watch that game, but I do follow these guys on Twitter, and you can do the same. You can follow me at Sooner Girl Pod on all social media. I do share a lot of highlights about our former Sooners and our current Sooners in all sports on my social media. Facebook and Instagram stories are where you're going to get a lot of that from me, as well as on Twitter/X. I retweet a lot of that, especially while the games are on. And so anytime our Sooners are doing something great, I'm definitely sure to share that on my social media. So shout out to Nick Bonito as well for a great day with the Broncos on Sunday. Okay, on to our Sooner football team. 50 years apart, the Sooners are now 2-0 against their blue blood brother, Michigan. But elite defense was on display in both wins against Michigan, even over that 50-year time span. But let's talk about this past Saturday night. What a win in Norman. What an atmosphere in Norman leading up to the game all week, on Friday, on Saturday. I heard nothing but good things from the Michigan fans, team, player, parents, all of it that were in town, all over social media. Everyone just giving a shout out to Norman, to OU fans for the atmosphere, not just at the game, but just in the city as well. But the game atmosphere was incredible. It was pretty loud. Not going to touch the jump around game of '08. I'm pretty sure that one's just going to stay in the books forever. But it was an incredible game. Great atmosphere. Good work behind the scenes by my friend Caitlin Fournier. If you want a story on behind the scenes on how game day works, the timing of the video boards, the team running out, here comes the schooner, the flyover, all the things, you should go listen to my episode with Caitlin Fournier back in March of this year. Some great information on how some behind the scenes works and on game day. And it was really informative and interesting to hear how all of that works. So shout out to Caitlin and her team for an exceptional job creating that atmosphere on Saturday night, and to the fans for showing up, being loud, staying late. No one left early. Even the student section stayed packed until the very end, which sometimes is not always the case. So shout out to the student section for that. And of course, going into the game, a lot of people were skeptical, not quite sure what to expect. I was optimistic, hopefully optimistic, I guess you could say. I really felt good about the game going in. I know that Michigan team is one that we weren't super familiar with, just how they're going to look for this season, but it's Michigan. It's Sharon Moore as a coach. He knows how to coach a good team, playoff team, a blue blood program. You just can't shrug that off coming into Norman. Some said it was the biggest game of Brent's career, and I would venture to say it probably was that, especially at such a pivotal time in the program, not just the season, but just the program in general. And you all know what I'm talking about as far as him needing some redemption, some good signs for what's to come going forward. And honestly, if we had lost that game against Michigan, of course, we could have looked at the bigger picture and tried to figure out why we had gotten that loss and maybe fed off of that and gotten some direction from that. But I definitely think this game changed the trajectory of our season and giving us some hope going forward, a lot of momentum. And I think that's good. It's obviously better than the other case and where we had lost. We certainly didn't want that because I think that would have raised a lot of concerns going forward, especially since we're turning around this week. We're on the road. I know it's just to Temple, but they are 2-0 as well. They are not a doormat team by any means. We are favored 24.5 points over Temple going into that game. So I do hope that we cover the spread on that. However, it's not a team to balk at. And I think coming off of that great win is an incredible way to continue building our team. And of course, then in 2 weeks, we have Jackson Arnold and Auburn coming into town, and that will be a huge game as well for a lot of reasons. And then just a couple of weeks after that, we have Texas in Dallas. And so we all know what that's going to mean, regardless of the state of the programs, regardless of the records, which I do think that Texas will probably win out until they get to Dallas. Same for OU. If we both come into that with Texas just having their one loss, it's still going to be a huge game. Tickets are outrageous. We're all hoping for good weather for that 2:30 kickoff in Dallas. It's going to be a huge game. So again, I think that's another pivotal game for us going forward. Building off of this Michigan win is heading in the right direction, a fantastic way to start off the season and just continue to build. We limited the Michigan quarterback Bryce Underwood to 9 of 24, and we pushed its 2-game total of third down defense to a salty 4 of 25. I will take it. But everything is different when Oklahoma is playing winning defense. And I think we all saw that this past Saturday night. Relentless, suffocating defense, as Coach Venables stated back when we first hired him in his speech about what he wanted to create in a team and an atmosphere at Oklahoma. Those are the words he used. And by golly, I think we have seen it. That is one of the best defensive performances I have seen in a long time. And I think it means a lot that I can say that I heard Teddy Leinen say the same thing. Teddy Leinen watched the film again Sunday morning before he and Gabe recorded this week's episode of their podcast, The Oklahoma Breakdown. He stated that on their podcast. It just kind of reiterated how I already felt. I, of course, did not watch the film. I do want to rewatch the game. You know, being there in person is, you can't beat it. But rewatching a game on TV and having that opportunity to pause and rewind and do all the things, there's nothing like that either. So I do plan to go back and rewatch the game. However, just an incredible atmosphere, just an incredible performance by our defense. And honestly, they couldn't get anywhere the other night. The Michigan offense could not get the ball moving. There were a couple of exceptions. The punt return coming out after halftime where they scored a touchdown, cut into the lead. But you know, when that happened, I just kind of laughed and I was like, okay, we probably weren't thinking we were going to shut them out. Like no one thought that we were going to shut them out. So, okay, let's give them a touchdown. And so it's crazy just to think that look how far our program has come. Our defense, like 6, 7, 8 years ago, we would have paid a lot of money to have this defense on the field, and we've got it. And it's just incredible. BV needed that win. We could not have had a better atmosphere for such a big recruiting weekend for a lot of sports. We had football recruits, basketball recruits, I believe some gymnastics recruits were also in town. Just such a big weekend to show out and really show what Oklahoma is about. And I think we definitely did that. I cannot get over seeing Kendall Daniels with that hit. He just trucked that dude. And just, if you haven't seen the image of him just standing over that guy that after he trucked him, like it's just incredible. I can't get over it. The only thing that would have made it better if it may have been a poke or a Longhorn helmet on the ground that he was standing over. But just an incredible photo, an incredible moment for Kendall Daniels. Like I said, our defense looked solid. They held several drives. Our special teams, though, a little concerned there. However, I don't think it's anything that isn't going to get fixed. Tate Sandell does miss a 40-something yard field goal. We had a couple of dropped punt returns. But again, have those guys run a couple laps, run a couple stairs this week. I think they'll learn from those mistakes. If you would have told me, though, all of the mistakes and penalties that we had in that game and we still won, I don't know that I would have believed you. So I'm not going to complain here. I'm not trying to be a sunshine pumper, so to speak, but I'm also not going to complain because we just beat Michigan very handily. shut down their offense. And our offense put on a hell of a show as well. I'm not going to complain. So special teams, I'm not giving them an A plus for the week, but I'm certainly not going to give them an F either. They've got some stuff to work on, but they know what to do, and I'm sure that they will get that fixed. But we finally have a pass offense. We finally have a run offense. John Mateer, holy crap. If you didn't see the photo of him just jumping into the end zone to score his second touchdown of the night, chef's kiss, incredible photo. Shout out to the OU photographers for their photo work on the field on Saturday night. I saw several photos that I just literally stared at. I shared them on my social media. Still can't get enough of them. But we have a great starting five on the O-line as well. I think we may have found our guys. It was just an incredible lineup. Great job. Shout out to Bill Bedenbaugh. Coach BV did give them the game ball after the game. And that's a massive improvement from what we saw last week, game one, where we weren't so impressed with the O-line. We said they had some things to do, some things to fix. They needed to step up. Well, guess what? They did. So shout out to Bedenbaugh. Shout out to the O-line. What a group of 5 guys who stood up, bucked up to the Michigan defense, and just took care of business on Saturday night. And you honestly can't ask for anything else. So I am not going to complain. In the post game, on the way home, I was listening to Coach Arbuckle talk about Jaron. And I think they've decided that his new nickname is going to be a quote burger back. If you don't get the reference to that, Jaron's little weenie dog's name is Burger, and he has become quite the social media sensation. There was even a burger cam at the game on Saturday. Instead of the Simba cam that's usually on the big board, we had a burger cam. And so Burger's become quite the hit. And so they were asking Coach Arbuckle about Jaron's position and his specialties and that he is working on. And Arbuckle said, I think we're going to call him a burger back. Just a cross between, a back and a tight end. And he had a lot of great blocks. How about that block he had for Mateer getting in on that touchdown run? So shout out to Jaron Kinnick. I know he had, again, a couple of bobbles last week in game one, but that kid's working his ass off. And we've got to give him props for it. And I'm a big fan of Jaron Kinnick. I want him to do well. I'm so glad to see that he is doing well and exceeding. And I wish him nothing but the best going forward for sure. I also have to give a shout out to Owen Heineke. He led the team in tackles. He is definitely becoming a problem. He had 2 solo tackles, 6 total tackles. He had a tackle for loss and a pass breakup. Again, Jaron Kinnick has 10 catches for 159 yards. He's second on the team in receiving. Our walk-on punter, Grayson Millard, he started out college playing NAIA soccer at Lubbock Christian University. He turned in 4 punts for an average of 47.8 yards, including 2 points inside the 20 for the Sooners the other night. So he earned a post-game shout out from Britt Venables as well. I will say I was a little underwhelmed by the Michigan quarterback, Bryce Underwood. No offense to him. I think he has a lot of qualities going forward that he could learn from and build off of. Potentially for the rest of the season, but they really built him up to be something else. And I honestly wasn't that impressed. I don't know if he was just feeling the pressure of our defense, which, like I said, they were really showing out the other night. I don't know if he was just feeling that pressure and just couldn't get things going or what, but I really was by Underwood. And I will be real curious to see how his season progresses and how he continues to play the rest of the season. Just compared to John Mateer, he was 21 of 34, 270 yards. He had a touchdown, an interception, 74 rushing yards himself. Oklahoma only had 4 completed passes of 15 or plus yards in the air last year. And John Mateer has already had 11 such throws this season already per ESPN Insights. Deion Burks had 7 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. Shout out to Deion. He, like I mentioned last week, this game was a little personal from him. Being from Michigan, not being recruited by Michigan, he really wanted to show out, make his mark on this game, and shout out to Deion for getting that done. Bryce Underwood only went 9 of 24 for 142 yards. Again, just kind of underwhelmed by him. But Gabe Eichert said, considering the stage and the opponent, you're going to have a hard time convincing me that there's a better performance by a true freshman offensive tackle in their first college game in Michael Fasusi. And I definitely do not disagree with that. Obviously, Gabe Eicher knows what he's talking about when he refers to the O-line. But it's just crazy to look at some of these stats and hear what people are saying after this game, because it was a big game. It was a statement game. We needed that win. We needed to make a statement, and by golly, we did it. Tyler McComas said, a random but impressive stat: 2 of the last 3 OU home games are against Alabama and Michigan. The OU defense allowed just 1 combined touchdown in those 2 games. It feels really good to have a defense back in Norman. Can I get an amen on that? I don't think the other night was just a moment. I really feel like it was a turning point in Brent Venables' era at OU. I'm hoping that it was a turning point in the Brent Venables era. Again, we really needed that win. We just had to make that statement, and we did. I really think going forward, it's going to be something for us to build off of. We've seen what we're capable of, especially against a fantastic Michigan team. It was not a fluke. So let's get out, and on the road to Temple this weekend is a great time to remind everybody, hey, we can do that again. And we're going to. We don't have to play down to the level of our opponent. Like I said, Temple is not a doormat. However, they play some decent football. And we are 24.5 favor in that game. I don't necessarily think we're not going to win by any means, but we need to get out and have that suffocating, relentless defense and show them what's what. And we need to continue to do that on the field and just keep that trajectory going forward so that people know not to mess with Oklahoma. We are going to be someone to be dealt with this football season. We need to continue to make that known week after week on the field. If you are not aware, each Sunday after a football game, the OU football social media put out a short video, usually about 3 or 4 minutes, called the Power Plays of the Game, where you see the plays from the game with the voiceover of Toby Rowland. And it's one of my favorite things to look forward to after every game. It always gives me chills. I usually watch it more than once. So if you are not aware of that video that is put out the day after every game, I highly recommend you go check it out, especially the one from this past Sunday after the Michigan game. Toby Rowland's final line: the Sooners are 2-0 and they are to be dealt with in 2025. And I could listen to Toby Rowland read the phone book. And if you missed my interview with Toby earlier this season, back in July, I did have him on the podcast, and he is just such a nice person. I enjoyed talking to him, and I gave him many, many props for being such a spectacular play-by-play. But again, I could listen to him read the phone book. Like, his voice is just incredible, and his play-by-play, he gets in it. If you've ever seen the In the Booth videos, they are available on the OU Athletics YouTube channel, I know for sure. But basically, it's just a camera in the booth during the game, and you can watch him and Teddy, Drake Dykin, Andrew Shepard, the spotter, and Stats Kelly. They get really riled up in that booth, and it's just so much fun to watch. Just go check out the power plays of the game, especially the one from Michigan this past weekend if you missed it, because I'm with Toby. The Sooners are 2-0, and we are to be dealt with in 2025. So let's go. Not a lot else going on for the Sooner headlines, but I do have a couple things. Our former baseball player, Cade Horton's ERA since the All-Star break is .77. He is doing an exceptional job on the mound for the Cubs. He's so fun to watch. We also have Jake Irvin, Cade Cavalli in the league as well. I've been posting a lot of stuff again on my Facebook, Instagram stories, on my Twitter/X @SoonerGirlPod. I share a lot of stuff about all of our pro Sooners across all the sports. So again, I highly recommend go give me a follow, not only so you don't miss anything about the podcast, but so you don't miss anything about our former Sooners, because I like to keep up with them and give them their shout outs and their props when they earn them. But Cade Horton, he's something to watch if you get a chance to watch him with the Cubs. He has the best ERA in Major League Baseball right now. So he's definitely putting on a good show and representing Sooner Nation very well. Our softball girls put out their fall softball season. You have 6 opportunities to see them in Norman this fall, starting on October 3rd and running through November 6th. There's several opportunities to get out. Tickets are only $10. General admission. They are on sale right now on Soonersports.com, and you can also get them at the gate on game day. I'm planning to make it out to at least one of those games, so I hope to see you there. I will let everyone know on social media which game I will be attending, and if you will be there, I would love to meet up with you. So go check it out. Their schedule on the OU softball social media and Soonersports.com, and get out and support our girls this fall and get a sneak peek of what's coming up this spring. Our soccer team, you guys, they are undefeated in non-con. They scored a season high 5 goals yesterday. They're 7-1 after last Sunday. their win at home. They did have a 1-1 tie game, but after their trip to Texas and then playing in Tulsa, played in Norman this past Sunday, they are undefeated in non-conference season, and they are starting the conference season this coming weekend. And I cannot wait to continue to watch these girls. They are so fun to watch. Again, a shout out to head coach Matt Mott and senior forward Hadley Morrell. I hosted them on the podcast back in June. If you missed that episode, they give a little preview of the season and a little bit of behind the scene, what it's like with the soccer program. Just tremendous, great people, hard workers. And I have just enjoyed getting to visit with all of the athletes and coaches and watching their programs and following them as they proceed through their season. So get out and support our soccer girls. Again, free admission for all home soccer matches this season. So check out their schedule online and on their social media and get out and support them. Our volleyball team is doing very well as well. They will be playing at home again this week, and their tickets are very affordable as well. I believe they're only $8. However, on Friday, October the 10th, it's Fan Appreciation Night with free admission against South Carolina. So if you're going to be in town, that is the night before OU Texas football in Dallas. But if you're going to be in town that night, still in Norman that Friday evening, go ahead and mark your calendars. Free admission at McCaslin Fieldhouse for our volleyball girls. You won't want to miss out on an opportunity to get out and support them, especially if you can get in for free. Our track and field crew, the cross-country season has begun, and they just completed the Aggie Duels in College Station just this past weekend. In the men's 8K, we had 5 of our runners who finished in the top 10. And for our women on the 5K, we had 5 of our women finish in the top 10 as well. So shout out to the track and field team and all the coaches. Head coach James Thomas, I also hosted him on the podcast this summer. Back in July, and we talked a lot about the track and field season and the new runners they have coming in. So shout out to them for hitting off cross country season with a bang down at the Aggie Duel this past weekend. And check out their schedule online. They won't be in Norman, I believe, not until after the holidays with their indoor season, but you will want to get out and support them when you can, when they're back in town. For now, they're running cross-country meets across the region, and so you can follow all of their progress and accomplishments on their social media, as well as, again, on mine. Be sure and give them a follow, give them some shout-outs, give them some support, and shout out to them for their accomplishments at the meet in Texas this past weekend. Okay, I can't let this one go without giving a shout-out to our men's golfer, Jace Summy. He participated in the Walker Cup, and Team USA won the Walker Cup this past weekend. He had 2 putts to win the match, and the Boomer Sooner, Jace Summy, did it in 1 putt. He put quite the exclamation mark on his singles match. So a shout out to Jace Summy again for representing Sooner Nation and himself very well in the Walker Cup, and props to Team USA for their win. For my Sooner MVP of the week, I am going to give another shout out to our O-line for all of the things I discussed before. But their improvement from week 1 to week 2 was just exceptional, and I could not have asked for more from the O-line, Coach Beadenbaugh. So shout out to them for being my Sooner MVP of the week. And to end this show with a Sooner fun fact of the week, including 2023 and each of the 6 years that the OU women's gymnastics team has won a national championship, the Sooners have also won a Triple Crown, which is the Big 12 title, an NCAA regional, and the NCAA crown. So shout out to our Sooner gymnastics teams. Both the men and the women are very accomplished programs. I had some previous gymnasts, Mackenzie Wofford and Brenna Dowell, on the podcast this summer as well. I also hosted men's head coach Mark Williams earlier this spring as well. And I have a couple of gymnasts on deck coming up later this winter. You're not going to want to miss out. So go back and check out those episodes if you missed them. And again, be sure and give me a follow at Sooner Girl Pod on all social media so you don't miss any announcements, any names for the guests that I have coming up onto the show. And go give me a follow, download, subscribe, share with a friend on your favorite podcast app. And if you need a shirt, you've seen me posting on social media. I've seen a few people pulling out those hoodies because we're enjoying those cool mornings, at least for now. Or maybe you just need a t-shirt that you can wear year round, or a hat or a visor. I've got koozies and stickers too. I've got just about something for everybody, even your kiddos. You can go check it out at soonergirl.bigcartel.com and grab some merch, and be sure and post a picture and tag me in it so that I can give you a shout out for your support. I truly appreciate it. Again, go subscribe to my Substack. You will want to get signed up before my September edition of my monthly newsletter called The Playbook comes out at the end of the month. That is my monthly recap of the show. You won't miss any big announcements, episode guests, sneak peeks, photos that are posted online, all sorts of stuff. It's all compiled into one newsletter that's sent out once a month, and you can sign up for it for free on Substack. Also, ladies, $5 a month to join my locker room. You get a merch discount. I have some in-person meetups coming up. I have several on deck for the fall. We do our monthly online Google Meet, and you're not going to want to miss out September and October, because I'm going to have a special guest. Yes, a special guest joining our ladies on our monthly Google Meet to talk some football. Now, I'm not going to tell you yet who they are, but I have two very kind radio guy friends of mine who have agreed to come on to our locker room monthly meetup and chat some football with us ladies. So in September and October, I will be hosting a guest, and you have to be a member of the locker room to join in. So you can join the locker room again for only $5 a month. And there are lots of other perks as well. If you need any more information on that, shoot me a message. I'm happy to help you. And also, advertising opportunities, sponsorships are available for the show. You can email me or message me on social media, soonergirlsportspod@gmail.com. My link in bio on all my social media. I'm at Sooner Girl Pod on all platforms. My link tree is my link in bio, but my link tree has everything there. Everything that I've just discussed, anything that you're interested in, you can find right there. If you need help finding the link, I am more than happy to send it to you. Again, just shoot me a message, shoot me an email, shoot me a comment, whatever. I am more than happy to help you, because I appreciate your support more than you know. Please share and pass along to a friend. And I would love to see you out wearing your Sooner Girl Sports Pod gear. And I would love to see you out at a football game. So if you are attending a game, be sure and let me know. I'm in section 48, very top row, right in front of the numbers. You can't miss me. I have pretty distinct hair, but I'm always there when the gates open. I would love to see you. So give me a holler if you're going to be at a football game, and I would love to meet you. So thanks again, everyone, for listening. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. I have some other fantastic guests all lined up through the rest of the fall. You're not going to want to miss out. So Boomer Sooner, let's go on the road and beat Temple, and I will see you next Wednesday where we talk sports.